Alright guys, we're going to change gears a little bit. So you saw earlier in this video that we got the deck finished up in this rear section. The C deck's down, looks great. But while we're here, we're going to go ahead and do the electrical wiring. So I'm going to give you a crash course on marine electrical wiring. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to give you a crash course. And the do's, the don'ts, the what I've seen, what I don't recommend. But let's dive on into it. Okay, so as you can see, I've got all this stuff. Looks like it should be household wiring. You'd see it in your house, you see it over at Home Depot. You walk down it, some of it's yellow, some of it's orange, some of it's black. Well, this is not stuff from Home Depot. This is actually made by Anchor. They do all marine grade wiring. And marine grade wiring is basically a tinned copper. All the copper strands get coated in tin, supposed to help resist corrosion. Standard copper, even if it's not in salt water, that's the big misconception, even if it's not in salt water, will corrode. Now you may say, Jake, but my car doesn't have tin copper in it and it gets rained on. Right, it does. And stuff on cars corrode, but the difference is your car is protected by body panels, your hood, your interior. A lot of electrical tape normally you'll see on, cars. But boats don't have that luxury. They get wet sitting in your yard. Some people forget to pull the plug. So then your wires end up underwater. You get sea spray while you're out running. You're out there, out there fishing with your buddy. And he knocks over your beverage and it spills down on your electrical panel, and next thing you know, you've got sticky, corrosive stuff going on back there. So if you're gonna have it, spend the time and use marine grade wiring. It's worth it. It's a little bit more expensive, but I can tell you I've seen marine grade wiring last a whole lot longer than standard wiring. What you see here is a set of heat shrink butt connectors, also made by Anchor Marine. Other companies make, heat shrink butt connectors. You don't have to go through Anchor. You can go to Amazon and buy heat shrink sealing butt connectors. And what it does is as you heat it up, it shrinks down onto what you're using. And this like silicone spews out and cures, and it makes it a watertight seal. Is it perfect? Is it 100% going to last 100 years? Probably not. But I'd rather have this than an open automotive connector. I use these on my truck when I wire anything up on my truck. And you'll see it here soon. I'm waiting for some parts to come in. We're going to wire up. But the goal here is to keep any water out of your electrical connectors. Because water, electricity causes corrosion. So you don't want stuff to corrode in here, because then, it may be your bilge pump. You could have your family or your friends or your dog out on your boat. And next thing you know, you're taking on some water because people are climbing in and out of the boat. You get a freak rainstorm and your bilge pump doesn't work because you've got corrosion inside this connector. And then what do? Well, you start taking your solo cups and start bailing water. That's all you can do. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Also, when you're crimping, where are my crimpers? There they are. When you're crimping these, you don't want to use a type of crimper that will puncture. So some crimpers will have a rounded side like this, and it'll have a pointy side. And that pointy side will crimp, but it will push in. It will break this seal. And once this seal is broken, Now you're introducing water. I know it's another tool made by Anchor along with my wire and my connectors. Look, I do this for a living. Every day that I'm at work, I'm wiring up a boat. I'm wiring up a boat that either costs $1,000 or significantly over $100,000. I've tried crimpers. I've looked for crimpers, and Anchor makes a good heat shrink connector crimper. I've had these for 5 years now and have used the snot out of them. I'm not saying go out and buy a $75 pair of crimpers. No, your local Harbor Freight, your local Home Depot, Advance, probably Ace Hardware, any of them, they sell good crimpers. Another thing's a good pair of wire strippers. Now these are just your basic, there's nothing different between this and like a pair of Kleins that you can go to Home Depot and buy. Yeah, mine say Matco Tools, but we have a Matco truck that comes around. Do I have another pair in here? No, I didn't bring my other pair. The automatic strippers that you can put the wire in, set your depth, and pull the trigger, they work great. I've got a set at work. I love them. I grew up using something like this, doing household wiring and commercial wiring for buildings. So I use these more than I use my automatics. Another thing you want is a good torch. And what that will do is help shrink it down. If you don't have a torch, you can get these from Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, Taylor's Do It Center, your mom and pop hardware center. If you don't have something like this, a heat gun works really well. It's a little slower, but it works good. And I've even in a pinch heated these down with a hair dryer. I've had to take a hair dryer and heat these things down when I've not had any more butane for my torch. Other than that, that's all you need to do wiring. Now, a meter makes it nice because you can check if you've got power, but I know I don't have power right now. I don't even have a battery yet. I haven't bought one. Don't know what size I want to go with, brand. I don't know if I want to go lithium. I don't know if I want to go glass mat. I don't know if I want to go AGM, gel. I don't know. Those are conversations for another video. And what we'll do is explain the difference. Because if you're going to buy a battery charger and you've got a lead acid battery and you buy a battery charger that will do your lead acid and then change it out to a lithium later, well, that lead acid battery charger may not do your lithium battery and you could ruin that expensive battery. If you're doing zip ties, so I've got a zip tie here I cut. These are made by Klein. They're not Matco, not Snap-on, they're not nothing. They're just Klein tools. I got them from Home Depot. They're flush cuts. They're only designed to cut plastic. But when you pull a zip tie and you got this long zip tie tail, and you got that person who comes in here and boom, cuts them off at an angle. And then you got this nice sharp thing. You reach your hole in there, your hand in the hole, and it starts cutting up your forearm. I hate it. I hate it. As soon as you do it a couple times, you'll hate it too. Flush cutters are nice. You put them right along the edge of the zip tie clasp and cut it. Now it's flush and it won't cut your arm up, won't cut your hands up, won't cause any kind of chafing. If it will do that, I've never seen it. People says it does. I've not seen it. But that will resolve any of that. It looks so much cleaner. You don't have that little bit of tail on a sharp angle sticking out, just waiting for your little innocent hand or arm to reach in there. It's worth it. I think they were like 18, 19 bucks when I bought them. And they only cut plastic. Do not cut copper with it. I'll tell you, you'll ruin them fast. But you've heard enough of me yammering about tools you need and proper connectors and all this. Let's get over to the nitty gritty now. So I bought this panel. It is a marine grade panel. It's not my favorite, but for where it's going in this boat and what this boat's going to do, it'll do everything it needs. It's got your voltage display. You'll be able to see what your current battery voltage is, and if you got it hooked up to your motor, it'll tell you what your motor's putting out. I opted for the 2 USB chargers. I need to make sure my phone stays charged. If I'm out on the water, my girl calls me, I don't answer her because my phone's dead, guess where I'm going to be sleeping? That's right, out in the doghouse or in the camper shell of my truck. Then you got the old classic 12-volt cigarette outlet. I don't know anybody who uses one anymore, but I do have a spotlight that plugs into one that I like to use in case of emergencies, so that's why I opted for it. Then you got basic 6 switches. Nothing special, nothing fancy. When you kick them on, it lights up. That's what it does. On, off. They're all just on, off. On the back, they have their version of heat shrink connectors. I don't really like them. They'll probably get changed eventually, but for right now, they'll work. So, off this panel, you had 2 wires coming into the regular old cigarette outlet. And those 2 wires go to your hot and ground. So your positive and negative, red and black. If you're in Europe, they use yellow also, but red and black. Black, red. Red's positive, black is negative. Happy, sad. They go to your battery. Now, you will want to hook a breaker or a fuse in between that battery and this panel. What that does is if you overcurrent this panel, that breaker will trip. To size it up, you need to figure out at full draw, when everything is on in this boat and you've got everything being used, what is your amp draw? And then you size your breaker accordingly. On this boat, I'm actually going to be looking right about 40 amps. So I need somewhere around a 45, 50 amp breaker. No big deal. But you can also, and I didn't do it, you can fuse protection off every one of these switches. So power comes, move these wires, power comes into the bottom of the switch, ground comes into the bottom of the switch. Out of the switch is positive to your light, to your fish finder, to your bilge pump, to your stereo, whatever you've got. Ground out to whatever your accessory is. I'm not going to list them all off again because you just heard them. You would fuse, protect your positive wire. And what this does is if that light gets an overcurrent, gets a spike in power, shorts out, it will pop that fuse before it burns up this wiring panel. I haven't done it yet, because this is not a final install. This is a make sure everything works, looks the way I want it, and then we'll do a final install. And we're probably just going to do push button breakers. Just beep, boop, beep, boop. It trips, I push the button, it's good to go again. It trips, I push the button, it's good to go again. And that's what we're going to do. They're old school, but they work. So, flip back to this side. As you can see, we have our heat shrink spade connectors heated down before I put it on. It sealed the wire. There's no punctures in that heat shrink. And then I matched color for color. Red to red, red to red, black to black, black to black. And she's good to go. So then it's on to the next one. And you rinse and repeat until you have everything the way you want it. So let's go on instance your bilge pump. So this is my bilge pump wire. It has 3 wires. Now we spoke earlier. Power, automatic, ground. I will take this white wire to my 12-volt switched power. That will be the switch panel. My green wire, and whatever color you want. Normally automatic float switches on bilge pumps are brown. So you can run a single strand 10 copper brown wire for your bilge pump if you want to be color coordinated and code compliant, so whoever works on it knows what it is. Brown is generically going to be your bilge pump wire in the marine world. Pink in the marine world is going to be your fuel sender sensing wire. Blue is normally your light wire. So any of your navigation dash lights, they'll be blue. What other colors? Purple. Purple, I'm pretty sure it's still that way. I know some of the outboards now are going away from it. But purple was ignition wire. You looking in a boat harness, you're trying to find 12 volt power from key on, you look for a purple wire. Purple wire would tell you what you need. But I don't have brown wire, I don't think. No, I do not have brown wire. So I have no way of doing brown wire in this boat. Now I can get some, it's no big deal, but I'm going to make it simple. It's just going to be green. Other than that, you got your black and your red on the rest. There we go, sorry. Got your black and your red on the rest of your wires. No big deal. If you want to test your lights and say, oh, did I do a good job? Did I hook this up? Or do these lights work before I install them? Because I couldn't tell you how many times that I have gotten a light from a reputable company, hooked it up, and it not work. And they're all LEDs, you know, they're diodes, humans make them, nothing's perfect. One thing I found from an old timer is you can take a 12 volt drill battery. Just 12 volts, not 18, not 24, not 36, not 48, 12 volt drill battery. And on the back of it, I know it's hard to see, but it'll say positive and negative. So what does that mean? Happy and sad. Let me try to get it so you guys can see this. There we go. See, it's off. Fix my wires a little bit. It's really hard to do one-handed, guys. And boom, lights on. Lights on. Lights on. I know this light works, and I know this is a white light. So that's an easy way to test your systems. You can do that with this fuse panel too. I can take this same battery and hook it up to, sorry guys, that was my phone. I can hook that same wire up to, all right, trying to reach, this wire, which is my 12 volt battery wire. What I can do is I can flip this around for you. Maybe, if I can do it one-handed. Let me adjust you guys a little. And I can hook this up to see if I wired this up correctly. And would you look at that? I have voltage. It says there's 11.5 volts. I know this light's plugged in, so I can turn it on. You see the switch lit up. And we've got deck lights. So that's something you can try. It's not always necessary, guys. Not always necessary. But let's give you a little crash course on this. We'll do a wire. This would be my nav light, Ford nav light. I didn't bring a razor knife home with me. So we're gonna use my flush cutters to cut this plastic sheathing on this wire back some without, you know, nicking it, which is nice about this stuff. So I'm gonna get you a little more adjusted. You guys can't see very well. That better? Yeah, you guys are happy now. Look at that. You work it out of the sheathing. So you just run this along, cut your sheathing, slide this back up under it. Do not get your wire. Cut the sheathing back so it's nice and clean. Slide it under, cut your sheathing back so it's nice and clean, and boom. Then just take your flush cutters and work your way around it. And you've taken your wire down. Now, Where is it? I know they're up here. There they are. So, heat shrink. Heat shrink. Different colors, different sizes. A good practice, and I'll do this one, is to take this heat shrink and put it on this wire right here. And what it will do is keep water from getting down inside this jacket, which will slowly, start eating away at this wire sheathing. So what I like to do is fold my heat shrink in half, cut off what I need. Now you got your heat shrink, slide it over it, line it up. I split the difference. So this is kind of small, so I split the difference, so half is on my wire, half is on my sheathing. Get your torch ignited, just heat it down. Get it all the way around, give it a good shrink. You know, these are kind of like shrinky-dinks. You want it nice and sealed. Turn your torch off so you don't burn yourself, burn your boat, melt your plastics, burn, you know, your wire. Let that cure for a minute. Now, this is Anchor Marine wire heat shrink too. It has silicone on the inside of it, and you probably can't see it that well, but I can. And as you heat this up, it splooges it out. It just ejects all that silicone into every little nook and cranny it can to seal this wire from water intrusion. Like I said, the last thing you want to do is be on the water and not have a bilge pump. You don't want to be on the water and not have navigational lights. You know, those are bad days. I don't care who you are, it just turned into a real bad day. So what I'm going to do is make sure my cables are routed, and they are. This one's not. I'm going to have to fix that one. It's not very clean. So, now we've got our wire. I'm going to take my wire strippers. I know this is 14 gauge wire, so I'm going to go to the 14 gauge hole. They're numbered. These go up to 10. Go to your 14 gauge wire stripper hole. Close. What about yay much? You know, and just gently pull. And bada bing, that popped off. And look at that. Now you have 10 plated wiring. Give it a nice little tight wind so it's all good. Take your spade connector. It has a insert me wire here end and an insert me onto the other spade terminal. Insert your wire. You shouldn't have to force it, it should just fit. Now you don't want to do a yellow one. I don't have any yellows over here. You know, this one fits. This is the right size. It's rated for 14. You don't want to take this yellow one, which is rated for 10 to 12 gauge wire, because then it's sloppy. You know, it doesn't fit right. You're going to lose connectivity. So, take your correct size connectors. It be butt connectors, be spade connectors, be ring terminals, and fit it on there. So it's nice. Take your crimpers. This is a blue connector. I'm going to line it up with the blue dot, which I know is the second one in. Line it up so it's right in the middle of that connector. And just give her a squeeze. And there you go. She's squeezed. She's crimped. Then, ignite your torch. Don't torch near your sea deck, it will melt it. Just heat it up. Make sure everything's nice and heated up and flush. You'll see it'll turn kind of translucent on your wire and then go back to kind of a opaque look. But it turns clear so you can see if there's air in it, if it needs to be shrunk down. But shrink the whole thing. Make it all one tight fitting. And that's it. You've just made yourself an electrical connection. Nice and simple, easy going, nothing hard. Anybody can do it. So we're going to cut the video here. And I've got some family things I need to do today. But hopefully in the next video, we'll be working on, well, I guess probably the front half of the boat, guys. We'll probably be up there working on the front half of this boat, getting it decked and sea-decked and closed in and squared up. Yeah, I was kind of taking a glance at it, and I think that's where we're at next. I spent a little time this morning, got the transom bolted down. But we'll get the touch-up paint done back here. That needs to be done from when I was mocking up the floor. But we'll get the front deck cut, get it put in, get it riveted down, get sea-deck put on it, and the lights installed. We got to get nav light put in for the bow. We got to get a nav light put in for the stern. No big deal, easy peasy. And we'll go from there, guys. So if you've liked this video, enjoyed this video, want to learn more about working on your boat, working on your car, working on your truck, leave us a like, leave us a comment, send us a message. Just tell us how your day is. Tell us what you had for breakfast. We don't care. We like talking with you guys. And we'll see you in the next one.